The case you're about to see is fictional, but the procedure is authentic. The characters are played by actors, and the jury is selected from members of the public.
Members of the jury, Mohan Gulhati and Arun Gulhati, stand charged with 2 offences under the Explosive Substances Act of 1883. The first charge is under Section 4, which relates to the possession of explosive substances, and the second charge of this indictment is under Section 3, subsection 1b, which relates to the control of an explosive substance with intent to endanger life or property. To this indictment, the defendants have pleaded not guilty, and it is your charge, having heard all the evidence, to say whether they be guilty or not.
Yes, Mr. Mossman.
You are attached to Fulchester CID, Detective Sergeant Kenny.
Yes.
Will you tell the court what occurred on the morning of the 30th of July last?
May I refer to my notes, my lord?
When did you make them?
At 1:30 p.m., my lord.
Within how many hours of the incident you are about to describe?
Approximately 2 hours, my lord.
Very well. Unless you have any objections, Mr. O'Connor?
No objections, my lord.
At 10:45 a.m., July the 30th, acting on information received, I went to 37 Marsham Road. These premises are a shop with living accommodation above.
Were you on your own?
I was accompanied by Constable Palmer.
Yes.
I entered the shop and saw Mr. and Mrs. Gulati serving customers. I informed Mr. Gulati I had reason to believe there were unlawful substances on the premises. Mr. Gulati said, "I suppose you mean the petrol in the bottles." We went through the rear door of the shop into the space between the building and the garage. In one corner were 2 milk crates stacked against the wall. In each crate were 15 milk bottles, all about half filled with what appeared to be petrol, and the next stuffed with strips of suiting material.
What happened then?
I removed the material from 2 bottles, one from each crate. I smelt the contents. It was petrol. I cautioned Mr. Gulati, asked him if he knew where his son was. He told me he was upstairs. I told Constable Palmer to ask him to join us. Constable Palmer left and returned within 2 or 3 minutes.
With Arun Gulhati?
Yes. I cautioned him and instructed Constable Palmer to telephone the police station and request a photographer to be sent. The photographer arrived at 11:10.
Exhibit 1, my lord. Yes, Detective Sergeant?
The photographer finished at 11:30. I arranged for the safe removal of the crates and asked the Gulatis to accompany me to the station. We arrived at 11:45. I took them to the interview room and carried on with my other duties.
Thank you, Detective Sergeant. No more questions.
Detective Sergeant, beginning of your evidence, you used the words acting on information received. Would you explain that, please?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, it's very simple. What do you mean by the words acting on information received?
I believe the meaning is clear.
Yes, to old hands like you and me, but please explain to the members of the jury. They are law-abiding, so perhaps they're not so accustomed to the vernacular of the court and the police station.
I received information and I acted on it.
Received it from whom?
Internal sources.
From which internal sources?
Duty officer.
Is there anything abnormal about the way you received these instructions?
Nothing abnormal at all, usual channels.
Detective Sergeant Kenny, had you been to the Gulati shop before the morning of the 30th of July?
No, but I'd passed it several times in the car.
The 30th was a Saturday. When you entered the shop, did you have a search warrant?
No.
Why not?
It was not my intention to search.
But you went to 37 Marsham Road to look for unlawful substances.
No. I went to Marsham Road to inquire of Mr. Gulati if there were unlawful substances on the premises.
Oh, just to inquire?
Yes.
And not to search?
No.
Now, you entered the shop accompanied by Constable Palmer. What happened next?
There were 3 or 4 customers there. Mr. Mohan Gulati and a lady I now know to be his wife were serving behind the counter. I waited until Mr. Gulati was finished serving. I approached him and told him I'd like a word with him in private. He motioned us to follow him into a storeroom at the back. We did.
And what took place in the storeroom?
I told Mr. Gulati I had reason to believe there were explosive devices on the premises.
And what did Mr. Gulati have to say to that?
He said, and I repeat, "I suppose you mean the petrol in the bottles." I asked him if he would show them to me. He opened a door leading out of the rear.
So this was at the back of the house?
Yes, a sort of yard at the back.
Now, to judge by these photographs, Detective Sergeant, the milk bottles and the crates were exposed to the elements. Is that how you found them?
No.
No? Well, how did you find them then?
They were covered by thick-gauge polythene sheet.
Well, why wasn't a photograph taken showing these devices as they were when you found them?
Well, we just didn't put the polythene sheeting back.
So, in fact, these photographs, which have just been passed to his lordship and to the members of the jury, don't actually represent the substances as you found them.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. You've just stated they were covered with polythene sheeting. This is a very serious charge.
That's just an oversight.
Oh, just an oversight. It is at least gross negligence.
I don't agree.
I've no further questions, my lord.
She did. Then Detective Sergeant Kenny asked me to radio for a photographer, and for the rest of the time I was on the premises, I waited in the storeroom with the accused.
Thank you, Constable. No more questions.
Constable Palmer, why did you go to 37 Marsham Road?
Why?
Yes, why?
There was reason to believe there were explosive substances on the premises.
Yes, what led you to believe that?
I don't inquire of my superiors why they're sending me somewhere. I act under orders.
Yes, but why did you go to 37 Marsham Road? Why not 47 or 57 or another house where there were Asians living?
I believe we acted on information received.
Oh, we've heard that phrase before. It's one that you must have used yourself many times.
I suppose so.
And what a phrase it is. Acting on information received. It has a sort of air about it. Official, grandiose, ambiguous.
If you like.
Where did the information come from?
Where?
Yes, where? What were your sources?
Mr. O'Connor, you are pressing for information which may not be to your client's advantage.
Yes, I am aware of my line of questioning, my lord. If your lordship would allow me to continue.
Very well.
Constable Palmer? Well, how did the police know there were unlawful substances to be found at the rear of 37 Marsham Road? Was it a competitor, another grocer perhaps, who wanted to steal some of Mr. Galati's trade?
No.
Or the fascists? The Nazis or another lunatic group?
No.
An anonymous phone call?
No.
Well, then who told the police there were unlawful substances to be found at the rear of 37 Marsham Road?
I did.
Yes, sir. Please speak up, Constable. There may be one or two members of the jury who didn't quite catch your reply.
Mr. Galati. Mr. Galati told me.
But when did this conversation take place, Constable Palmer?
8th of June, my lord.
And are you saying that you did not report it to your superiors?
I did not, my lord. No.
Well, I've no doubt that your superiors will deal with you as they think fit. I say that your conduct was in serious breach of your duties, and you should be severely reprimanded. Carry on, Mr. O'Connor.
Constable Palmer, you first learnt of what the Gulatis proposed to do on the 8th of June.
Yes, they expressed their intention on that date.
Did they tell you why they felt it necessary to take such steps?
Yes, we talked. It was about the time the disturbances started.
Yes, sir. Which disturbances are you referring to? The disturbances that took place in the rest of the country or those that took place here in Fulchester?
Well, both. It all seemed to start at the same time.
Yes. Well, what happened at the beginning of June?
Well, there'd been some trouble in the area.
Yes, will you be more explicit, please?
I'd have to refer to the crime register.
Is the crime register in court?
It is, my lord. An application was made by the defence at an earlier stage for it to be produced at the trial.
Usher.
Constable, let's just pick a date. Say from the last week in April. What kind of entries do you see?
There are various incidents. Burglary, theft, taking a vehicle without owner's permission, assault.
Very well, Constable, so we may take it that statistically speaking, crime was on the increase.
Yes.
Now, in this period, we're talking about the whole of May, right up to the 7th of June, or the 8th of June, rather. Do any of the Gulatis appear in the crime register? For any reason whatsoever?
No.
Well, they haven't made any complaints, haven't reported any incidents.
No.
Now, please look at the index for the year, Constable. Do you see the Gulatis at all?
No, sir.
Do you see the names of other Asians in the index? Asians who have brought complaints because of harassment, abuse or assault?
It isn't the practice in Fulchester to classify violence by race.
So when a complaint is made, you don't attempt to establish whether racial prejudice is the motive?
We don't know.
Oh, well, are you aware, Constable, that the local newspaper, the Fulchester Gazette, has reported that in many incidents of assault there is a strong implication that race is the only possible motive?
I'm aware of the reports, yeah.
So is it not the fact that the Asian community in Fulchester, in common with the immigrant communities in the rest of the country, have given up complaining to the police for the simple reason it has no effect?
Yes. Mr. O'Connor.
It is common knowledge, my lord.
Nevertheless, Mr. O'Connor, I cannot allow you to make general accusations.
I have witnesses, my lord, who will so testify.
But at the present, you are questioning this witness.
As it please, my lord. Constable Palmer, is it your experience that Asians in your area of policing have lost confidence in the force and rarely report their problems?
I don't think I can make a fair comment on that.
Very well, Constable Palmer. Now let's return to the beginning of June. How would you describe the area in which Mr. Gulati had his shop? What was the atmosphere like?
It was tense.
Were there any incidents which contributed to the tension? Anything specific?
Yes, a gang of about 20 youths went through the streets.
Yes, including Marsham Road.
Yeah, they smashed windows, overturned cars. Generally created a disturbance until we brought them under control.
Yes, on what date did this take place?
June the 7th.
And had there been disturbances of a similar nature before that date?
There had, yes, but not as bad.
Well, what happened immediately after June the 7th?
I was on normal foot patrol in the area on the following day, June the 8th. I passed the shop. The window had been smashed. Old Mr. Gulati was outside nailing planks across the front. I paused, and at that moment, young Mr. Gulati, that's Aaron Gulati, came out and he asked me what the police were going to do.
Oh, he meant what the police were going to do about the disturbances on the previous day?
Yes. I told him that steps were being taken, that patrols were being increased. He said, come into the shop. I did so. It was empty.
Do you mean it had been looted?
No, I mean it was empty of customers. Aaron Gulati then said, the next time they were attacked, they would be ready. I asked him what he meant. He said they would retaliate. I asked how. He said firebombs. I said that would be illegal. It was an offence and carried a very heavy sentence.
And what did he say to your warning?
He said he couldn't count on the police for protection, so he would protect himself.
And what did you say?
Well, I told him not to be a hothead. I advised him to calm down.
Why? Was he shouting? Was he in a temper?
He was pretty upset, yeah.
Oh. Now, where was Mr. Gulati Sr. when this conversation took place?
We came into the shop while we were talking.
Did he say anything?
No,
Did he give any indication of what he was thinking?
he just came up to me and he shook his head.
That's all.
That's all.
Now, when did you next have occasion to see the Gulatis?
About 3 weeks later, June the 28th, I was proceeding on my normal patrol. I stopped outside the entrance to the shop and old Mr. Gulati came out and I asked him how things were going.
Why was that? Have there been any incidents in the preceding 3 weeks?
A number of incidents, yes. Anyway, I asked him how he was. He said they were expecting the worst and preparing for it. I asked him what he meant. He said they were going to defend themselves.
And what did you say?
I told him they shouldn't break the law.
Was any mention made of how they meant to defend themselves?
No.
Now, did you report this conversation to your superiors?
No.
Did you make any more visits to the Galati shop between the occasion you've just described and the 30th of July?
Yes. I visited there as part of my duties the day before, the 29th of July.
For what reason?
I was obliged to make the rounds of the area.
Why was that?
It was my duty to inform certain shopkeepers that there may be some trouble on the following day, and they should take precautions.
What kind of trouble was expected on the 30th?
All kinds of rumours were flying around. There'd been meetings between the community leaders and the police. There was supposed to be a British movement rally in the town hall on the Saturday evening, with reports to expect a lot of aggravation. And tension began to build up, and steps were taken to contain the situation.
So what did you find when you went to the Gulatis?
Most of the window had already been boarded up. There were one or two planks of wood inside the shop, ready to nail into place if it became necessary, and I advised them to carry on with their precautions.
What degree of violence was expected that day, Constable?
I'm not in a position to say exactly.
Really? But you were sent round to warn householders to expect an attack from rampaging hooligans.
Really, my lord?
Yes, Mr. Marston?
My learned friend is putting words into the witness's mouth.
Which words are those, Mr.
The
Marston?
witness has made no mention of rampaging hooligans, my lord.
Does he need to? What other class of person would do these deeds?
Quite so, my lord.
Constable Palmer, the violence expected that day was quite considerable, was it not? Well, otherwise, you would not have been sent round carrying your rather ominous message, isn't that true?
Yes?
Is that yes to both questions?
It is, my lord. Yes.
I'm obliged, my lord. So what was their reaction to your warning?
They told me they were prepared.
And what did you say?
I asked them what they meant. They told me they had made petrol bombs.
Yes, now, was it difficult extracting that information?
No.
Did they indicate what would force them to employ these devices?
No. They just said they would use them if they had to.
Now, it's true to say, isn't it, by this time, the 29th of July, these devices had been in their possession for nearly 8 weeks.
As far as I know, yeah.
Yes, and there had been considerable violence in the immediate area during that time.
There had been violence, yes.
But the Gulatis, for all their provocation, had not resorted to using these devices. Isn't that so?
They hadn't used them, no.
And in the circumstances, would you agree that that indicated considerable restraint on their part?
I think what it indicated was that we had a situation well under control.
Were you aware when you returned to the shop with Detective Sergeant Kenny on the morning of the 30th of July there was no search warrant?
I was aware of that, yes.
Yes, well, why was there no search warrant?
I don't know. That wasn't up to me.
Well, there would normally have to be a search warrant in a case like this, wouldn't there? That's normal procedure.
Yes.
But times aren't normal, are they, Constable? Thank you. I've no further questions, my lord.
Do you wish to re-examine, Mr. Marston?
Thank you, my lord. You have stated in evidence, Constable Palmer, that you were aware of what the Gulatis proposed as early as June the 8th, and that this intention was reinforced on June 28th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you aware that this constituted a very serious offence?
I was aware that it had that potential, yes.
Why did you not report it to your superiors when it first came to your attention?
That was my intention to begin with. And I started to think about it, and I decided to do nothing for the time being.
But why?
Well, in the first place, I wanted to persuade the Gulatis to get rid of the stuff themselves without going to higher authority. They're not villains, and I didn't want to see them get into unnecessary trouble. The more I thought about it, the more I delayed.
Well, didn't you realise your inaction was highly irregular?
Yes, I did, and I thought, now is a fine dilemma. The Gulatis had had it hard, I knew that, unofficially, of course, and they'd taken me into their confidence, and I knew by rights they ought not to be storing the stuff. On the other hand, if they really thought they needed it to protect themselves, did I have the right to remove that from them? I thought a lot about that.
But all these moral considerations, although undoubtedly well-meaning, they do not form part of your general duties, do they?
Not usually, no.
So far as it was part of your experience, Constable, what precautions were taken to protect the community from outbreaks of violence during those summer months?
More men were drafted in. Car patrols stepped up. Certain streets were closed to traffic on Saturdays.
What effect did these precautions have, can you say?
There were more police.
Oh, well, you seem a little hesitant, Constable, so perhaps it might help if I were more specific. What precautions were taken on the 30th of July, the day when exceptional trouble was expected?
More the same. More police, more patrols, that sort of thing.
Did it have the desired effect? Were there major disturbances that day?
No.
Were there any disturbances?
No.
None at all?
No.
No violence, no mobs of rampaging hooligans?
No.
Would you then agree that the precautions that the Gulatis took proved quite unnecessary?
I would agree, yes.
So you'd agree that whatever measures were taken by the police proved adequate and successful?
I would agree, yes.
Thank you, Constable. I have no further questions of this witness, my lord.
Shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Reginald John Lewis, Inspector, Fulchester Central Police.
Thank you. Now, Inspector, Mr. Haroon Gulati and Mr. Mohan Gulati were brought into the police station at approximately 10 to 12 on the morning of the 30th of July. Both the defendants made voluntary statements on July the 30th, admitting that the bombs were made on the 9th and 10th of June with petrol purchased from the Holmes Road petrol station and suiting material from cast-off garments in the house. They were formally charged at 12:35 and were both released on bail the following afternoon. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, how would you describe the atmosphere in the days preceding 30th of July last?
There was a certain amount of tension in various sections of the community, but I am perfectly satisfied that the situation was well under control and that the measures taken by the force were precisely the right ones.
There was a British movement meeting in the town hall earlier that evening, is that right?
Yes.
And was there any violence caused by that meeting?
None at all.
Was there any violence and disturbance anywhere else?
There was less aggravation than is normally the case on a Saturday night.
And would you say, Inspector Lewis, that the Gulatis' fears were justified?
I'd say they were entirely unjustified.
In your opinion, was there a need for any member of the community to make any preparation for self-defence?
No, not at all.
Thank you so much, Inspector.
Inspector Lewis, how long have you been stationed at Fulchester Central Police Station?
3 years.
In the 4 months leading up to the 30th of July, how many racial attacks occurred in the area under your control?
It's not the practice in the central Fulchester area to treat racial attacks any differently from non-racial attacks. I'm perfectly satisfied that the measures taken during the period in question and the policy followed in the circumstances prevailing at the time were designed to achieve the optimum result.
Just exactly what do you mean by that, Inspector?
I had a plan of action and this was followed.
Oh, what was this plan?
I addressed members of the Asian and black community 3 times between the middle of May and the end of July. Once at Primrose School, at a meeting organised by the Executive Committee of Immigrant Asians, once at the Moraji Desai Hall, at a meeting organised by the Interaction Group of Trade Unionists, and once in the Black Youth League Social Centre. I told them on each occasion that the community must rely on those duly authorised to enforce the law of the land, and that under no circumstances would the police tolerate unauthorised methods of self-defence or the tactics of the vigilante. I made the point quite forcefully on each occasion that illegal weapons, explosives, and other devices being hoarded as a means of self-defence must be handed in to the proper authorities, in which case no further action would be taken. My comments and advice were widely reported in the local and national press and are a matter of public record.
The case of the Queen against Makan and Arun Gulhati will continue tomorrow in the Crown Court. The case you're about to see is fictional, but the procedure is authentic. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the public. Yesterday, the jury heard the prosecution case against Arun and Mahan Gulhati, who are accused of the unlawful possession of explosive substances. Today, it is the turn of the defence.
In addition to Aaron, do you have other children?
Yes.
How many?
4, 2 boys, 2 girls.
You have already said that you've not been in trouble with the police. To the best of your knowledge, have any of your children?
No, certainly not.
And how long have you owned the grocer's shop in Marsham Road?
3.5 years.
So you've lived above the premises all that time.
Yes.
Now, have you encountered problems since you've owned the shop? I mean, problems not normally associated with trade.
My lord, surely we're concerned with events between May and July last. I cannot see that Mr. Gulati's 3.5 years as a grocer have anything to do with the matter in hand.
But years shape attitudes, Mr. Mossman. The question is perfectly valid.
As your lordship pleases.
Well, Mr. Gulhati?
None of our years here have been without problems.
Mr. Gulhati, will you tell the court, to the best of your knowledge, what sort of thing has happened to you and your family since you've been proprietor of the shop?
The walls and windows have been painted with insults. The windows have been smashed with bricks and other objects. Myself, my wife, and my children have been attacked at one time or the other.
Could you describe one of these attacks, something that stands out in your mind?
A most terrible thing happened to my eldest daughter. She was coming home last winter from school, and she was attacked by 3 youths. She used to wear her hair long and plaited. They tied a rag to her hair, set it alight, and she came screaming like that into the shop. The rag in flames, her hair singed, and her coat burned.
What effect did this have on your daughter?
She would not leave the house for several weeks. She would not go out on her own, never.
Now, you spoke a moment ago of objects thrown at your premises. Would you give the court a recent example of the sort of thing that you mean?
It is difficult. There are so many.
So let's just say the last thing that you can remember happening before the 30th of July. Can you remember?
Yes, the last thing that happened was on the Wednesday.
That will be July the 27th.
Yes. In the middle of the night, someone threw an iron bar through the upstairs front window.
A bedroom window?
It should be a bedroom, but we have all moved to the back of the house.
Well, why have you moved to the back of the house?
It's safer.
And if you hadn't taken the precaution of cramping yourselves into a rear room, you may well have been seriously injured.
Lord, my
Yes,
learned
yes,
friend is
yes,
speaking a
yes.
witness.
Mr. O'Connor, as well as your question being pure conjecture, you are leading the witness.
I apologise, my lord. Mr. Gulhati, have you ever been assaulted?
Yes.
How many times?
4.
Well, please describe to the court what happened to you the last time that you were assaulted.
I was traveling home on a bus late one evening. When I got off the bus, I was beaten up by 2 men. That was May 28th.
Were your injuries severe?
Yes, bruising, a cracked rib, stitches where I banged my head when I fell.
Now, how long had you owned the shop before the persecutions began?
Within the first week, someone sprayed the whole window with paint.
You mean covering the entire glass, blotting out the light?
No, with words.
What did they say?
Kill Pakis.
Well, what did you do? Did you call the police?
Yes.
What happened? Was anyone arrested?
No, the police told me to forget. It was all childish pranks, you know.
Did you and your family continue to suffer harassment?
Yes.
Did you continue to call the police?
Yes.
With any result? I mean, was anyone apprehended to the best of your knowledge or arrested?
No, the police came, they took notes, but nothing happened.
Now, during this period, about a year, you say, how many times did you complain to the police?
2 or 3 times a month.
And yet the police made no arrests and the violence against you and your family continued.
Yes.
So why did you stop going to them? What made you cease your complaints to the police?
I just gave up. They always made me feel the guilty party.
I see. Now, by my reckoning, about 6 months after you'd given up complaining to the police, your eldest daughter was attacked in the manner that you've just described. Did you go to the police then?
No.
No?
No.
Well, why not?
For the same reason I didn't go to them before. They would have not done anything.
Is that what really passed through your mind, Mr. Gulati? That the police would have taken no action?
That was my experience and the experience of others, Your Honor.
I see. Carry on, Mr. O'Connor.
After you were attacked in May, you say you never reported the matter to the police then.
No.
Did you not report your predicament to anyone?
After my daughter was burnt, I went to the Community Advice Centre.
And what did they say?
They said they would take the matter up with the police.
And did they?
They said they did. Nothing happened. Nothing changed.
Well, did you consider going to someone else? I mean, you're Member of Parliament, perhaps.
No, what was the point?
Right, let's move on to last summer. Did you think that things were changing with regard to the general atmosphere and the climate of opinion?
Yes.
In what way?
Things were getting worse. There were more attacks. Everyone was feeling the strain. We heard of terrible things happening in different parts of the country, and I was desperate.
It's understandable. Will you tell the court what happened on June the 7th last?
It was in the afternoon. I was standing outside my shop. On top of Marsham Road, I saw a gang of youths. They were running and fighting. I did not know what was going on because I quickly ran into the shop and told everybody to go upstairs. Then they came running past. They were dressed like, skinheads with short haircuts and swastika badges. They were shouting and laughing, and they took the goods and the plank and they smashed the whole thing through the front window, and glass and food was everywhere. They were shouting, and my family were crouched upstairs like hunted animals.
What decision did you arrive at after that experience, Mr. Gulhati?
That evening we talked, that is, Arun and I. We decided to arm ourselves. We read in newspapers about people making petrol bombs, so we agreed to do the same. We were desperate. I had to defend my family. It was either that or risk perhaps death. Patients had died, burnt. And we were getting very badly frightened,
How did you hope to employ these devices? I mean, how would you have used them?
If someone had attacked the house, we would have thrown them down.
Down? Down from where?
Down from the upstairs room, the one we do not use anymore.
Now, did you have any other purpose in making these devices other than using them to defend yourselves?
What other purpose could there be?
Well, I'm bound to ask you these questions, Mr. Gulhati. Would you have employed these devices to attack anyone? To attack someone you may have recognized as troubling you in the past?
They were made to defend ourselves, nothing else.
Did you have any intention of attacking the police for their inactivity?
No.
Did you intend to use these so-called petrol bombs against property?
Whose property?
I don't know, Mr. Gulhati. I'm asking you.
We made them to defend ourselves. We thought that if we made a fire in the street, then that would frighten away the youths and the fire brigade would come.
Now, these devices were in your possession from approximately the beginning of June until the end of July. That's nearly 8 weeks. Was there any kind of violence or threat during that period?
Yes, some.
So why didn't you use your weapons during that time?
Things had not gone that bad. We had made them only to be used as a last resort.
And, in fact, you never did use them. Now, there's one further question, Mr. Gulhati. Why didn't you attempt to conceal these weapons from the police? Why did you go and tell Constable Palmer that you got them?
We wanted Constable Palmer to know. We wanted him to know how serious the situation was.
Thank you, Mr. Gulhati. You'll wait there, please.
Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Gulhati, that in general the times for everyone are unsettled, rougher, more violent, more abrasive?
The times are bad, I agree, but we are made the scapegoats, the convenient target.
Well, is it not a fact, Mr. Gulhati, that as the summer went on, the police presence was stepped up, and that there was a real effort on the part of the local force to protect the Asian community?
I wasn't aware of that, no.
But on June the 8th, Constable Palmer states that he entered your shop to inquire after your welfare, isn't that right?
Yes.
Well, didn't you understand that as part of an attempt to look after your interests?
Constable Palmer is one man.
He is one man, but he is part of an entire force. Why do you think he went to your shop?
In the circumstance, someone had to put in an appearance. If we consider the damage done and the panic caused, that was the minimum thing they could do.
Well, I suggest that a very great effort was made to allay your fears and that you chose to ignore it. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say it was a very small effort. Who would judge how effective it would all be?
Well, you chose to take the law into your own hands, isn't that so?
We took the precautions, that is all.
You chose to take the law into your own hands, yes or no?
It is my right in this country to defend myself, my family, and my property.
Defend yourself against whom, Mr. Gulhati?
Against these people, they have been persecuting me for years. Last summer, it became unbearable.
You say these people. Do you know their identity?
No.
Then who would you have used these bombs against? Can you be specific?
No, I had no plan. If the house was attacked, then we would have used them if we had to.
So you're saying you had a general fear, is that right?
Yes.
Do you consider that a reasonable assumption, Mr. Gulhati? To throw bombs at someone because they've daubed slogans on your shop window?
I had reached the point where paint on my window is reasonable. I wouldn't throw bombs if it was only that.
How would you have known that, Mr. Gulhati? How would you have known what the intention was? At what point would you have decided to use explosives?
Oh, my lord, Mr. Gulhati can hardly be expected to answer a hypothetical question.
It may be hypothetical, but it is relevant. Please carry on, Mr. Marsden.
At what stage of an attack would you have decided to use those bombs, Mr. Gulhati?
I don't know. I can't say. It would depend. If we felt our lives were threatened,
So
then...
you made them, these explosive devices, as a general precaution, isn't that so?
It was meant to protect ourselves, that is all.
Yes, and you made them after Constable Palmer had visited you, and in spite of his warnings not to do so, isn't that right?
Yes.
So there was no doubt in your mind it was unlawful, was there?
He said it was unlawful, but I believed, and I still believe, that it is my duty to defend myself and my family. What law is there that states that we must be taken like sheep to the slaughterhouse?
The fact that no immediate steps were taken against you, didn't that indicate a certain sympathy on the part of the local police?
On the contrary, I thought they can't protect us. Therefore, they are turning a blind eye to us protecting ourselves.
Did you know that Inspector Lewis had publicly made it very clear that the authorities would not tolerate people taking the law into their own hands?
Yes.
But did you not know that Inspector Lewis had attended several meetings organised by black and Asian groups where he had affirmed his commitment to law and order?
Yes.
Did you know that Inspector Lewis had offered a virtual amnesty to all members of the community who were harbouring illegal weapons?
Yes.
Did you take the trouble to attend any of those meetings?
It was after coming home from a meeting at the Moraji Desai Hall that I was attacked.
Yes,
What is your date of birth?
25th of February 1960.
And where were you born?
Here in Fulchester.
And educated here?
Yes, until I went to Loughborough Art College.
Oh, yes, I understand you're a trained and qualified graphic designer, but you can't get employment here in Fulchester. Well, couldn't you obtain a job elsewhere in the country?
I was offered a job in London with a small firm making promotional video films, but I didn't take it.
Why not?
It's not safe for my family to be left on their own.
So, out of consideration to your family's welfare, you work mainly as a grocer.
Yes.
Apart from your period at college, have you lived continuously at home?
Yes.
Have you ever been in trouble with the police, Mr. Gulhati?
I call this trouble.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant before your arrest last July.
No.
Do you like being an Englishman, Mr. Gulhati?
Could like it better.
Do you consider yourself an Englishman?
I do, yes.
Do you have divided loyalties?
No. I know a lot of Asians like that, but I don't have strong feelings of nationalism one way or the other. This is the only country I know, for better or for worse, this is it.
Now, when you say you could like it better, what do you mean?
There's a certain amount of prejudice.
Does that trouble you?
I don't feel as persecuted as my father. I'm more anglicised, I've mixed more. And because I've been ready to mix more, I've been more accepted.
Now, up to the 30th of July last year, your father had owned the shop for 3.5 years. How much of that time had you spent living there?
I wasn't there the first 2 years he had the shop.
Oh, yes, that was the period that you spent at art college.
Yes.
Now, how often did you return home?
About once a month.
Were you aware that your family were finding life difficult?
Yes, it was nothing new. A certain amount of abuse and harassment was natural. Unwelcome but expected, for everyone.
Were you aware of the specific circumstances that your family were experiencing?
Well, I used to phone home from college. Of course, my parents played it down. They didn't want to worry me.
Did you ever feel that their lives were in danger?
Yes. I was always telling them to be more careful. We often came across reports of Asians being beaten up. I used to tell them to be more cautious about where they went and opening doors to strangers, things like that. But then, you know, conditions can be really bad. And it goes on like that for a while and you get used to it. Soon you accept it as normal. becomes part of your life.
Now, after your return from college, how long had you been living at home before the beginning of last May?
About 9 or 10 months.
And during that time, how did you find conditions?
Just about bearable.
Did you notice any change in the general conditions after May?
It got worse, a lot worse.
Worse? Or worse in what way?
More anger, more rubbish and missiles being thrown at the house. More abuse, more tension all round, I thought.
Yes, how did you feel about all this?
Very uneasy. I could see racialism was on the increase. It was getting ugly and dangerous.
Would you give the court some example of the sort of thing that contributed to your feelings of apprehension?
The riots in Brixton, Toxteth, Southall, any number of places. We often came across reports of Asians being killed. There was a Pakistani visitor. He was a tourist. He was kicked to death on the London Underground. A bus conductor from Bradford was beaten to death. There are hundreds of cases of assault. It's an endless list.
What about you personally? Were you ever assaulted?
No.
Were you ever in the house when it was attacked?
Yes, several times.
Did you ever report or complain to the police?
No.
Why not?
It's a waste of time.
But what was the alternative?
At first, I thought it was best to keep a low profile, but then I changed my mind.
Yes, when was that?
After my father was attacked on his way back from the meeting in Morarji Desai Hall.
Yes, now, were you at home when your father returned?
Yes, I opened the door to him. He fell in. He was crying. His face was covered in blood. You couldn't see one eye. There was so much swelling and bruising.
And what decision did you make that night?
I decided to answer violence with violence. Self-defense was the only way.
Did your father come to the same conclusion?
No. It wasn't until after the shop was smashed that he agreed with me.
So you made the devices on the 9th and 10th of June, is that right?
Yes.
Now, was it ever your intention to use those devices for anything other than self-defense?
No, my father and I made them to protect ourselves, our shop and our family, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Gilharty. You'll wait there, please.
Mr. Gulharty, you've lived in Fulchester most of your life. Do you belong to any clubs?
I play football. Well, I used to at any rate. When I first left school, I played for the Fulchester Rovers junior team. I don't know whether you'd call that a club.
Anything else? Aren't you a member of the Asian Action Group?
I wouldn't say I was a member, no.
You go to meetings, don't you?
I've been to meetings, yes. It's just an informal gathering. It's not thought of as a club.
Nevertheless, it has regular meetings, doesn't it?
Not regular.
Well, it has connections with like-minded organisations in various cities and towns in the United Kingdom, doesn't it?
I believe so, yes. But that's because a lot of students belong and students travel.
Well, you say belong, Mr. Gulharty. Does the Asian Action Group have a constitution? Is it affiliated to a sports association?
No, it's not a club in that sense.
Well, in what sense is it a club? What are its aims? What does it do?
It's just a place to meet and socialise.
The Asian Action Group. Well, it doesn't sound very sociable to me. What are its aims, Mr. Gulharty?
It acts as a sort of clearinghouse.
A clearinghouse for what?
Information.
What sort of information?
On fascists. It monitors their literature.
Oh, I suggest its aims are far more covert than that.
No.
Well, I suggest far more sinister.
No.
I suggest that its prime purpose for existing is to form and coordinate vigilante groups. Isn't that so?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Isn't it true that all through last summer the Asian Action Group organised anti-fascist demonstrations and attacked British movement sympathisers?
One moment, Mr. Mossman. You've asked two quite separate questions.
Well, I beg your lordship's pardon. Perhaps Mr. Gulharty will answer them separately.
Yes, to both questions. I read about it in the papers.
Isn't it a fact that during marches and demonstrations organised by the political left and right, several members of the Asian Action Group were arrested, charged and convicted for offences ranging from breach of the peace to possessing offensive weapons?
People were arrested, yes.
And is it not a fact that on several of those occasions you were present?
I've been to anti-fascist demonstrations, of course I have. But you make it sound like a crime.
But you are one of those demonstrators whose purpose, I submit, was to create public disorder, attack the police and terrorise those whose opinions don't happen to coincide with your own.
They'd been terrorising us for years. Where were the police then?
Mr. Gulharty, my learned friend asked you for examples of the kind of incidents that were contributing, in your view, to the increase in tension in Fulchester last summer. You mentioned several places which have attained a certain notoriety for disorder and violence. You also mentioned unfortunate Asians who have been murdered. Does anything else come to your mind that may have contributed to the tension, the apprehension?
I don't know what you mean.
Don't you, Mr. Gulharty? There is one kind of tragedy you have omitted to mention.
I don't think so.
Oh, yes. Mr. Gulhati, think about it. Fire, Mr. Gulhati. You never mentioned the poor souls who'd been burned to death.
Everybody knows about that.
I suggest you made petrol bombs, fire bombs, to get your revenge.
No.
I suggest you made the bombs to inflict on others.
We made the bombs to defend ourselves.
Very well, but who do you suppose you were going to defend yourself against? Wouldn't you agree that there was gross overreaction on your part?
The police were doing nothing. We had to be prepared.
I suggest that your claim that your home was endangered to such a degree that you had to make bombs to defend it is greatly exaggerated.
If your home is attacked, it's attacked. Have you ever had a brick thrown through your window?
Let me ask you this. Where were you when your sister was attacked?
Where was I?
Yes, were you living at home at that time?
No.
You were away at art college?
Yes.
When did you first learn about that attack?
My mother phoned me.
And did you return home straight away?
3 weeks later.
And then you realized how badly she'd been affected. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, and again it was fire. Now I suggest all this preyed on your mind.
Oh, really, my lord?
Mr. Mossman, I cannot allow you to indulge in psychological theorizing.
As it please your lordship. Mr. Gulhati, I put it to you that you wanted to take your revenge with fire. Revenge being the motive, not self-defense.
Well, if it was revenge, it was a bloody long time coming
Mr.
because my
Gulati,
family...
you will not be rude in my court.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. Gulhati, you say you and your father made these bombs in order to defend yourselves. Was there no other way in which you could summon help in the event of an attack?
What other way?
Don't you have a telephone?
Yes.
Then you could have dialed 999!
We could have. But how long would it have been before anyone turned up? We could have fitted sirens and alarms, but any system takes time to bring help. And in the event of a sudden attack, time was the one thing we wouldn't have had.
No more questions, my lord.
Thank you, Mr. Gulati. You may step down.
Before the next witness is called, my lord, I should like to address you on a point of law in the absence of the jury.
If you really consider it necessary, Mr. Mossman. Members of the jury, from time to time, matters of law which do not concern you have to be discussed between counsel and myself. I must therefore please ask you to leave the jury box. Your bailiff will conduct you to the jury room, where you may take refreshments. But I make no excuse for repeating that you may only discuss this case amongst yourselves. Do not talk about it to anyone else.
The case of the Queen against Arun and Makan Gulhati will be concluded tomorrow in the Crown Court. The case you're about to see is fictional, but the procedure is authentic. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the public. During the past 3 days, the jury has heard evidence concerning the illegal manufacture of petrol bombs. Today, the jury will return their verdict.
Members of the jury, I feel it would be proper to offer some words of explanation and to clarify the point made by counsel while you were absent yesterday. There has been a ruling by the appeal court, which is that petrol devices of the sort described at this trial must be regarded as explosive devices. Explosive, not incendiary. Now that is a ruling by a higher court than this, and we are bound by it. Yes, Mr. O'Connor.
Thank you, my lord. Please call Vade Paul Comer. And your address, Mr. Comer?
Kumar.
I beg your pardon?
Buckingham Mansions, Priory Park, Fulchester.
And would you give the court some indication of what you do, Mr. Comer?
By profession, I'm an engineer.
Yes, and I believe I'm right in listing the following. You sit on the committee of the Mixed Cultural Commission. You're a member of the Fulchester Immigrant Advisory Service. You sit on the panel of the BBC General Advisory Council. And you're a Justice of the Peace. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm a prospective parliamentary candidate.
Oh, yes. Are you familiar with the defendants?
I know Mohan Gulhati better than I know Arun. But yes, I'm acquainted with the whole family.
And for how long?
About 8 years.
Yes, what sort of people are they? How would you describe them?
They are quiet, respectable, hard-working. The children are respectful and obedient. They are the sort of people who'd want nothing more than to be left alone.
Now, from what you know of Mr. Mohan Gulhati, is he the sort of man who takes extreme measures?
Absolutely not. I would say he went in fear of his life and felt the need to protect himself and the family. He must have been under intolerable pressure.
Now, Mr. Coleman, how would you describe the atmosphere in the days that led up to the 30th of July last?
Mr. Kumar, these rumours that you refer to, you have set in evidence some emanated from the police who may have acted with good intention, but whose statements serve to contribute to the air of tension. Is that right?
Yes, it's a classic situation. Panic is self-perpetuating. For example, it isn't unknown for the police to warn shopkeepers of the impending visits by hooligans and then recommend them to board up the windows. One doesn't have to possess a wild and vivid imagination to foresee what effect that news is likely to have. Sometimes one can see what's happening in other cities. And again, one doesn't have to be a prophet to see that it could easily spread here. Then, of course, the fascists started rumors. It served their interest to spread alarm to the immigrant minorities, but people were frightened for their lives. It is no exaggeration to say that.
And of those people frightened for their lives, how many do you suppose found it necessary to manufacture petrol bombs?
Oh, really, my lord?
Mr. Mossman, you are going
Forgive me
beyond...
for interrupting, my lord, but I'd like to answer that question.
Then pray do so, Mr. Kumar.
Thank you. Now then, the Gulhatis took the ultimate step because they felt themselves to be in an extreme position. They owned a shop, a corner shop, which they felt was exposed and cut off from the rest of the community. The shop was fairly well known and often been the target of attack, missiles, written abuses, and so on. This contrasted with the other people who were prepared to leave their homes and seek shelter. The mosque in Okride Road, for instance, was open day and night in the last 3 weeks of July to accommodate Muslim families who were too scared to remain in their own homes. But the Gulhatis, they spent their entire life savings in that shop, plus 3.5 years of hard work. They had to stay and defend it.
Well, let's move on to the 30th of July. You were in Colchester that day.
Yes.
And the trouble that everyone expected, Mr. Kumar, did it materialise?
There were some disturbances, yes.
Did it materialise to the degree that everyone expected and feared?
I don't believe so, no.
I have here the crime register for Colchester Central Police. Would you know approximately how many arrests there were from 3 p.m. until midnight on the 30th of July last for offences relating to assault and public disorder?
No, I don't.
Well, you claim to be in contact with the immigrant community. You claim to have an ear to the ground. Would you care to hazard a guess?
Oh, I would guess between 50 and 100.
6. 6, Mr. Kumar. And of those 6, 3 were arrested outside the Crooked Billet public house for being drunk and disorderly, for fighting over a woman.
Yes, well, if our ardor led us to fight over women only, sir, how much happier we should be.
Quite. But the fact, Mr. Kumar, is that in spite of the rumours and fears, no assaults, no invasion by fascists or skinheads or anyone else ever took place. Is that not so?
It is so, yes.
And is it not also a fact that from the 30th of July last to the present day, no mob assault or mass attack of the sort feared by the immigrant community has taken place?
It pains me to say so, but my conclusion is that once it was realized that the Asian community would take firm steps to defend itself, the thugs slunk off elsewhere and thus proved the validity of the deterrent factor.
I suggest that the absence of violence was due to the well-publicized vigilance of the police.
That is your point of view, sir. It is not mine.
In the light of what occurred, or rather what didn't occur, wouldn't you agree that the steps taken by the Gulhatis were entirely unjustified?
In the light of what occurred, yes. But Mr. Gulhati is a grocer, not a fortune teller.
Well, I suggest they had no need at all to make bombs, to protect themselves.
I can only say what I said before, that they had to take steps to defend themselves, and with whatever means they had at their disposal.
And not trust in the proper authorities.
Their experiences had obviously taught them to place no faith in the police.
Since it's obvious that you are a figure of some stature and respectability, Mr. Kumar, it pains me to hear you say that. I have no further questions, my lord.
I pay no heed to colour. It's respectability that counts.
Yes, Mrs. Ballantyne. Then how would you describe them as neighbours?
They weren't neighbourly. Not as how I'd describe being neighbourly, at any rate. Not like the Wilsons had had the shop before.
Well, are you saying that they were a nuisance, then?
If I'd wanted to say they were a nuisance, I'd have said so at the beginning.
Well, Mr. O'Connor, I think we should allow Mrs. Ballantyne to proceed in her own way.
Yes, indeed, my lord.
I'm saying they kept themselves to themselves. Not stuck up, mind, I've no time for that, but distant, reserved.
Parents and children?
I'm talking about the parents. Children are a different kettle of fish. The Gulati kids are all right, and I don't take to all children, not by a long chalk.
Oh, what about Aaron Gulhati? What do you think of him?
Oh, Aaron's a decent enough lad.
What do you know of him? Would you think he was a troublemaker?
No.
And Mohan Gulhati? How would you describe him?
As I say, quiet. Polite, not a lot to say for himself.
Now, was the shop run in the same way when the Gulhatis took it over after the Wilsons?
Longer hours, different layout, different smells.
Did you find it in any way objectionable to have them as neighbours?
If I'd had any cause for objection, I'd have moved.
And were you aware that the shop was subject to attack from time to time?
But you'd have to have been deaf and dumb not to notice it.
Yes. Now, when did these attacks take place, to the best of your knowledge?
At odd times, day or night, disgraceful.
Were the police ever called? Did you ever call them?
I did at the beginning, but they never seemed to catch anybody.
Now, did the attacks increase, would you say, over the past 3 years?
Well, they got a lot worse over last summer. The hot weather brought the pests out of the woodwork.
Can you describe the sort of thing that happened?
Well, they were always throwing things at the shop. Bricks, rubbish, banging on the doors in the middle of the night, and painting slogans. You'd think they'd have had better use for the paint, the price it is.
Did you ever see any of these attackers, Mrs. Ballantyne?
Well, once or twice, louts. Needed their trousers taken down and given a good tanning.
Did you ever see the Gulatis retaliate?
No.
Now, to the best of your knowledge, did they ever try to combat the attacks in any way?
No, they just sort of drew in on themselves.
And you've lived next door to the shop for all the time that the Gulatis
I've lived there all my life. Oh, I knew that shop. When you could buy isinglass at 1 and 2 an ounce and get a good quality roasting tin for 2 and 9.
Yes, thank you.
In the early 50s...
Thank you, Mrs. Ballantyne.
Do I go now or do I stay?
Mrs. Ballantyne, thank you very much. Are you saying 37 Martian Road was an oasis of peace and quiet until the Gulatis came along?
I wouldn't say that at all.
Well, would you not agree that it's always been something of a focus point for troublemakers?
Of course I wouldn't agree.
Because, may I suggest, it's not the most salubrious of areas,
If
is
you
it?
mean it's not refined, say it. It isn't.
Well, I suggest that it's always had the reputation of being rather rowdy. Wouldn't you agree?
Rowdyism's one thing, bullying's another.
So you agree, then, that the neighbourhood generally, and the corner shop in particular, is not unused to violence?
There has been violence in that corner shop, I don't deny it.
Before the Gulhatis arrived?
Oh, well before the Gulhatis.
Would you care to describe one of these events?
Yes, it was when Mr. Hodford owned 37. He was a stickler for payment. He wouldn't allow more than 1 week's credit. 1 week, and after that your name was on a list in the window for all the world and his neighbour to see. Now, Tom Wiggins, as honest a man as ever put feet into slippers, he owed £2.17 and 4.8. Of course, that was in the days when £3 kept the family washed and fed for a week. Now, after 7 days and after that, his name was in the window. Public knowledge.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Ballantyne.
Just a moment, Your Worship. Now, our Tom, he went in and told Hodford he'd come up with the cash at the end of the week. And Hodford, he says, that's fine. But until then, his name would say there. Words were said, tempers were lost.
Yes,
I was in
Mrs.
my
Ballantyne.
kitchen, I heard the commotion. I came out just in time to see Tom Wiggins push Hodford's head into a shelf of Jacob's cream crackers.
My lord, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, As this trial has progressed, it has seemed to me that we were treading a very familiar path, a fashionable and weary path. That path is the vilification, the degradation of the police. They have attracted a disproportionate amount of what I think you will agree is unfair criticism. They have been accused of ignoring complaints, of not performing their duty in defense of the ordinary citizen, of discrimination against the immigrant community, of an uncaring attitude to the point where it has almost reached criminal negligence, of a dereliction of duty. Now, I should like you to recall the evidence of Constable Palmer. You will remember that the accused told Palmer that they proposed to make explosives. Palmer doesn't deny receiving this information, although quite obviously his action, or rather his inaction in not reporting it, was quite improper. He maintains, and you had the opportunity of seeing him in the witness box, he maintains that he found himself in a terrible dilemma. Now, we are in a privileged position of viewing events in hindsight, and we know that his dilemma was a product of his own imagination. I have no doubt that Palmer's motives were sincere, if wrong and misplaced. But I ask you, if Palmer is an example of the sort of policeman patrolling our streets, then I say, and I expect you will agree, that we may allow ourselves a certain sneaking admiration for a man who takes his duties so much to heart. Members of the jury, I want you to consider this. Just what was the intent of the Gulhatis? Was it to defend themselves? Because you see, it is my contention that the Gulhatis intended to use their explosives against some misled youth who happened to be passing with a canister of paint. But is such a person to be the target of a flaming bottle? Do you really consider that throwing petrol bombs at an unruly crowd is defensive, however much you may deplore the action of that crowd? And would you not question whether the employment of such means was quite disproportionate to the threat? Was there no other way for the Gulhatis to draw attention to their plight than by using petrol bombs? Now, let me draw your attention to the evidence of Inspector Lewis. None of it is in dispute. Inspector Lewis takes the trouble to address all sections of the community on several occasions, and he makes no bones about the police position. His meaning is clear. Do not take unilateral action. Leave the lawbreaker to the police. Now, what happens on that supposedly fateful day, July the 30th? Nothing. Why not? I submit that the reason is obvious. Clearly, the police had done their work effectively, efficiently. The illegal action taken by the Gulhatis proved totally unnecessary. Much has been made of the idea of self-defense, and of course, one is entitled to defend oneself. But when the Gulhatis prepared their explosives, they went beyond the bounds of self-defense, because, you see, self-defense is an immediate, spontaneous reaction, and what the Gulhatis did was premeditated. Members of the jury, I want to draw your attention to something which I regard, and I trust you will regard, as extremely important. It is this. Society cannot, in any circumstances, take the law into its own hands. That way lies anarchy. And although Mohan and Arun Gulati may have felt that they were provoked, their situation was known to the authorities. Their worst fears were not realized. They had no need to make and store bombs. I ask you to consider most carefully the evidence, and having done so, I have no doubt that you will find the accused guilty of both counts of the indictment as charged.
Lord, members of the jury, my learned friend has asked you to review the evidence of Constable Palmer. He asked you to come to certain conclusions. These conclusions, he would have you believe, are that Palmer's actions, or inactions, as he called them, stem from a fanciful imagination, a wrong, a misplaced sense of duty. Well, members of the jury, not for the first time in this trial, my learned friend has attempted to enter the world of psychological theory. And as on that occasion, I say you must reject it totally. The evidence of Constable Palmer leads in one direction and one direction only. Palmer certainly knew that in normal circumstances, what the Gulatis proposed to do was certainly illegal, and certainly he told them so. But his dilemma was this, that circumstances were not normal. He knew, certainly he believed, that the police force could not possibly provide the immediate response that a sudden and violent attack would demand. And who better than Palmer to know how serious the situation was? The dilemma was real. The dilemma existed. Now that is what troubled him, and quite rightly so. Now, every day from June the 7th on, the Gulatis here, they believed themselves to be in imminent danger of attack. And that is what they truly believed, and with good reason. Consider their actions. Their patience, their fortitude is tested beyond endurance. They are forced into taking extreme measures. Now, they tell Palmer because they know that he knows how serious the situation is, and they know that he knows how justified their actions are. I put it to you, members of the jury, that the circumstances prevailing at the time point to the fact that possession of these devices had a lawful object, legitimate self-defense. They were to be used on the specific occasions when they felt their lives were in imminent danger. I recall to you the evidence of Moe and Gulati. We made them to frighten people away. We thought we would make a fire and then call the fire brigade. The fact of the matter is, in spite of a series of provocations, which you have heard detailed here, the Gulatis, they maintained their sense of judgment and their common sense, and they never used the petrol bombs. Indeed, members of the jury, consider the evidence and ask yourselves the question, is this what made Britain great? This catalogue of horror, of rubbish and filth thrown at a front door, of insults, of missiles, bricks and iron bars hurled through windows, of a family having to barricade, yes, barricade themselves in against expected attack. My learned friend maintains that if one takes law into one's own hands, it is anarchy. Well, I have two things to say about that. First, there is something higher than the law of the land, which is the rule of God, or morals, or a decent code of behavior. You call it what you will. Because the truth of the matter, members of the jury, is that often the trappings, the infrastructure of what we are pleased to call a civilized society breaks down. Do I need to remind you how often in this century alone states have acted, do act inhumanely, yet but within their own law? Men and women must always refer to the dictates of their own conscience. Secondly, the Gulhatis never, not for one moment, contemplated administering law or dishing out punishment or acting in a manner which placed them above justice. What they did was to defend themselves. They acted solely in self-defense. And I have no hesitation in asking you to recognize the fact and to return a verdict of not guilty to both counts in the indictment.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what has occurred to me these past days is actually how much of the evidence has not been in contention. And one perhaps could be forgiven for thinking that the true villains, those who seek to sow discord in our society, are absent. What is not in dispute is that the two Gulatis are men of good character. And although it is not a conclusive point, I think it is something that you should bear in mind when you retire to consider your evidence. Certainly the position in which they found themselves indicates a very sorry state of affairs. Now, there are two counts to the indictment, and the more serious is the second charge, and that must be considered first. Having heard the evidence, it is for you to decide whether the prosecution have proved that it was the intention of the Gulatis to endanger life or cause serious damage to property. If you do so find, then you must return a verdict of guilty. But if you are not sure of their intent, then your verdict must be not guilty. Now, in the case of the first count to this indictment, the position is somewhat reversed. Under Section 4, all the prosecution have to show is that the circumstances in which the defendants have possession of the explosive substance give rise to a reasonable suspicion that they are not making it or do not have it in their possession for a lawful object. It is for the defense to prove on the balance of probabilities, and I stress that phrase, that it was kept for a lawful object. Therefore, what you must consider when you come to look at the evidence is this. Have the defense proved that the threat was imminent and that the making and storing of these substances was in response to an imminent threat? Now, if you do so find, then you must return a verdict of not guilty. If you do not so find, then you must return a verdict of guilty. Now, will you please retire, elect a foreman to speak for you, and consider your verdict.
All stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Please answer this question, yes or no. Are you all agreed upon the verdict?
Yes.
On this indictment, on the first count, that the defendants made or possessed explosive substances without a lawful object, do you find the defendant, Mohan Gulhati, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And you find the defendant, Arun Gulhati, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And on the second count, that they possessed explosive substances with the means thereof to endanger life or property, do you find the defendant, Mohan Gulhati, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Do you find the defendant, Arun Gulhati, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.